Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Christina, and in today's video, I am going to be sharing with you a May homeschool and life recap and update. So usually, if you've been watching for a while, you know that every month, usually on the first day of the month, I share a recap of the previous month and our plans for the upcoming month. I'm switching it up a little bit this month and just giving you a recap, maybe even looking a little bit back on the year as a whole. We'll see how the video flows. But I'm actually going to be sharing my summer homeschool plans as a whole, as opposed to sharing June's plans, because I'm likely not going to share one for July and one for August. I may hop on and do some updates throughout the summer, but I'm probably going to be taking a little bit of a YouTube break. I say that, but I do have like some pre-filmed content, like my curriculum picks for all of my kids and things like that that we'll be posting here on YouTube, and I'll be chatting with you guys in comments and things like that. But as far as filming over the summer, it's not going to be something that I'm prioritizing. So although I don't have like this hard and fast rule of like, I'm not doing any YouTube for all of July and August or anything like that, I am lowering it on the priority list for how I'm spending my time throughout the summer with my family. So videos are going to look a little bit different, but yeah, just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a heads up. So today we're going to talk about May, and we're going to talk about maybe the school year in general. So let's talk about May. First of all, how was your May? I would love to hear, like, give me some highs and some lows. I've shared in the past that like with my kids and with my youth group girls, we do highs and lows. So let me know if that's something you do. Like, share like what was really, really good, and share what maybe was not so good about your week or your day or your month in this case. So highs, I would say for us as a family, were getting outside a ton. Like, I am not good at tracking my hours. I'm always like inspired and wanting to do 1,000 hours outside. And I start to track my hours, and I'm just not good at that. So I've like let go of like trying to make myself track my hours. If you do 1,000 hours outside, let me know, and let me know if you're good at tracking or not. But like, I'm sure that we have logged a ridiculous amount of outside time this month, and that makes my heart so happy because it's something that I've become super passionate about more and more as time goes on. And also something that you've probably heard me chat a lot about, or maybe you've noticed the theme is like me alluding to like definitely more unschooling vibes this month, or like we're gonna unschool a little bit. And although I don't know if we'll ever fully unschool, whatever that even means, right? Like there are different definitions for like every homeschool style. People could probably argue about like what it really is or isn't. And so although I would not say we're unschoolers, I would say, just like I do with Charlotte Mason, that we're heavenly. I hope we're heavenly over here. Some days more than others. Oh man, we are heavily influenced by unschooling ideas. Just this idea that education and learning doesn't have to look like school at home. And there's a wide range, right, of like trying to really make it like school, where you have a classroom and you have a schedule where you do your different whatever, and where you just have a little bits of school and little glimpses. And some people that are like, I reject all of that. So I respect everyone's homeschool styles and choice. And truly, 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 I feel like I say this a lot. Hopefully it's not annoying. Like, that is amazing if it works for your family. Like, that is the beauty of homeschooling, is that like you get to do what works for you and your family and your children. And you get to decide that. That's the beauty, right? And so we've leaned in more and more to unschooling vibes and really flowing with the season. So maybe we don't unschool as much in the winter because we're inside more, and so we're in the books a little bit more. But when that weather gets nice, we are outside as much as possible. So lessons, 99% of them have been done outside during the month of May. Out on the back deck is where we've done morning time and notebooking, and even their independent work. Much of the time they've taken outside to do that. We've done tons of field trips, whether it just be like on our own. And I say field trips, right? That's like another school term, but we've done tons of adventures either on our own or with friends or with our homeschool groups, our Wild and Free group. And it's been amazing. We've done tons of learning that doesn't include any curriculum. So I'll just give you some quick highlights before I go in like I always do and look back at my planner to see what I said I was going to do in May versus what we actually did. But I can tell you that we went to the Saratoga Mineral Springs State Park, and it was so amazing. Like, I knew what it was, and I knew that it's like interesting and cool, but since we went on the tour, our tour guide did such an amazing job talking about like the geology of how do these mineral springs even form? What are the layers like? What causes them to have the different elements, right? So it's like covering geology and chemistry and what causes them to come to the surface and what filters through and all of these different things. He covered the history of Saratoga and the different people. So like biographies and like different people that would come up there to get like the mineral baths and drink the mineral water and get refreshed in that area. And just so many amazing, interesting things. We got to taste all of the water from the different springs and hear about like what the benefits of those different waters with the different concentrations of minerals, what the benefits are for your body versus like what ones you need to be careful to not do too much of because of the side effects that they can have. So it was so interesting and such a rich day. And then for hours afterwards, the kids played in the creek there. And it was like the most beautiful, quintessential, wild and free meetup. They learned a ton and then they were just free to explore. They were trying to like cross the creek together and make fishing poles out of just like random reeds and dandelions and prickers and all kinds of things that they found. It was a perfect homeschooling day in my mind. Like, it was beautiful. We went to another state park that's like on an island and we'd hiked there. We went to a Shaker village that was like within driving distance to us, and it was so interesting learning about the Shakers, like interesting belief systems. I'll just leave it at that. My kids were intrigued and infuriated in some ways, but it was incredible. Another incredible day where we met up with like, we only knew one of the people that was going to be there, and it was like all new people, a whole new homeschool group, and it was just wonderful. And there was that, and it was a beautiful day. It started off cold, but anyways, so many days. Like, I feel like there's ones even that I'm forgetting, things that we did. We went and saw like Lupin in Bloom after reading Miss Rumphius, which was in our Meadow guide from the Peaceful Press. That book was in the Meadow guide, and we read that book, and then we got to see Lupin in Bloom, which if you've read it is like the main flower that's highlighted in that book. And just, I don't know, so much goodness. I got to go to Teach Them Diligently, the Teach Them Diligently conference in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And oh my gosh, is it so incredibly beautiful in Tennessee. Like, I had no idea. So it was my first time in Tennessee. I'm gonna go back to Tennessee in the fall, so I'm super excited. In a different part of Tennessee, I got to hike in the Great Smoky Mountains with my sweet friend Anna from Just Making It Work, that I got to hug in person and hike in my first national park ever with her. It was incredible meeting the people at Made to Homeschool. And if you don't know about Made to Homeschool is an online community where you can come and from whatever family size, whatever homeschool style, and just be with like-minded mamas that believe that they are called to homeschool, that maybe they're in a season that's like working really well, but they just want some community, or maybe they're struggling in a certain area and just really need some support. It's an amazing place. If you have not already joined, I will link it down below. We are in the early access phase, if you are not aware, and the official launch is on June 1st. And I just want to say that I am doing a live workshop in there June 12th. So I'm super excited to share on just in a different way, like different than here on YouTube. You can like come in real time and ask questions and talk in the chat and all of those things. So make sure you get the premium membership if you want to join the weekly workshops, because they're pretty amazing and they're all saved to the content library. So if you can't join in real time, you have access to all that with the premium membership. So definitely be on the lookout for your opportunity to join the Made to Homeschool community if you haven't already taken advantage of early access. So I got to be there with Made to Homeschool. We got to speak on a panel all about building community. I got to meet some of you and hug some of you, which is amazing. Yeah, so that was a highlight for me, definitely a high in the month of May. May seemed kind of long. Like in some ways it flew by, in some ways I'm like, that was May? That seems so long ago. I got to meet so many of my online friends, homeschool moms that are content creators, both here on YouTube and over on Instagram, and it was just amazing. It was an amazing trip. I so thank God for that opportunity to go. So that was a high for me. What else? Lows would be super personal things like if you are from a family where there may have been divorce or abuse or different things like that, then you know how hard those things can be. And so we had to deal with some tough stuff in the month of May. So if it is on your heart to pray for my family as we continue to walk through that, please do. So many of you have reached out over on Instagram, especially, and even through email to tell me you're praying, to share your stories of things you've been through or maybe things that you are going through. And I'm praying for you too. So I just love this community here and over on Instagram, and I'm so excited about the community being built over at Made to Homeschool. I am passionate about finding your people because they exist. And this is coming from someone who is very closed off after being really, really hurt by family and friends and church family, and really feeling like, you know what, I don't need that in my life. Like I have my close family and a handful of friends and I am good to go. And some seasons are like that. I believe there are some seasons. I'm going on a tangent here, but we'll go with it. There are some seasons where you hide in God, right? Like it's just a season where he needs to keep you close. And I think he always needs to keep you close, but hopefully you're getting my gist. And then there are other seasons where I feel like he pushes us a little bit more into community. So I just wanted to mention that in case you struggle with that, or if you're in a different season. Yeah. So let me know your experience with community, because I've heard lots of good and lots of bad in that area. All right. So let's jump into what I planned for the month of May, because I'm sure that'll remind me of other things that happened or didn't happen. So this was my list for the month of May. I have my pencil to check things off. So Nature Study Club select lessons, nature all around me. We did like 3. So technically I can check that off because I said I was going to do select lessons, and I did. I knew we would not get to a ton of Nature Study Club in May, and I'm totally fine with that because we got to a lot of nature in May. So I really think it's an amazing unit. I think we're probably going to keep them around and maybe touch on them during the summer, maybe not. But I love how it focuses on the nature around you and how to engage with it. So you can still get that from For the Love of Homeschooling. If you're interested in Nature Study Club, it's always linked down below in the description box. And yeah. So natural medicine, this is one that we definitely focused on more in the earlier part of the month, learning from our natural medicine curriculum mainly, which is from Campfire Curriculums. I've gotten a lot of questions about like, what natural medicine curriculum are you using? We also used some things from the homesteading bundle, which is no longer available. We also used my herbs and foraging unit, which is available on Etsy. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out down below. We didn't do it a ton, but we did definitely do it. So I'm going to check it off. The next thing on the list was Playful Pioneers. We did continue with Playful Pioneers. We did it maybe not as much as I had planned, maybe once or twice a week, so not a ton, but we did it. And so I'm going to check that off too. If you're unfamiliar with Playful Pioneers, it is an American history curriculum that is literature based and Charlotte Mason inspired. There is copy work and tons of picture books. And the spine, or like the main book that you read, is the Little House on the Prairie series. And then you fill in with lots of fiction and nonfiction picture books and some chapter books to kind of get a feel for that time period in history. So it's like a survey of American history during that time period. So we did get to that. I said that we were going to do Exploring Nature with Children. And let me just say, I mean, technically We did the topics in Exploring Nature with Children in May, which were caterpillars and butterflies. We released our butterflies. That was a high. Okay. That was one of the fun things about May. One of our favorite things about May is raising caterpillars into butterflies and then releasing them. We did tons of gardening. I knew this list would remind me. So we got our garden bed ready for planting. We planted and started seeds. We got some seedlings. We got more soil. We planted some flowers. We were planting like lots of new herbs, like medicinal herbs, as well as our typical culinary herbs. And we added in some new vegetables that we hadn't grown before, alongside like vegetables that are kind of tried and true for us at this point. So really fun and something that we'll continue to do throughout the summer. So that's one thing I will tell you about our summer is that we will be gardening. I mentioned the Meadow guide earlier, which is for ages 3 to 5. We haven't finished it yet, but I didn't plan on finishing it in May. I just planned on continuing. We did it lightly. That was like where we read that book, Miss Rumphius. That was on the week that focused on wildflowers. And we will continue with it a little bit moving forward, but just very lightly. It's more focused for ages 3 through 5 as far as the activities and things, but I do read the picture books with all of my kids in like morning time. So definitely check out the Peaceful Press for like Playful Pioneers. Meadow Guide, the Meadow Guide is like one of many nature themed guides for that age group. There are tons, so you can check that out. Science for Little Hearts and Hands, again, was something that we did more in like the beginning of the month that we didn't do a ton in the last week or two. So I'll check that off because technically we did it. I'm checking off a lot of things. So I feel like we touched on a lot of things, but yeah, Created for Work. We've been reading Created for Work and loving it. We are still only like 4 or 5 chapters into this. So technically, again, we just touched on it. Same thing with Mary Slessor. We are reading this from the Christian Heroes Then and Now series. So I'll check that off. I said that maybe we'd finish the Constitution unit. I knew that I was being overambitious and that we would not. I think we did it once in the month of May. Like at this rate, it's going to be like doing it next school year too. If you've been around, you know how long I've been trying to get through this Constitution unit. It's kind of comical at this point. I also said that we'd finish the maturation unit, which we only have a couple lessons left, so we'll probably finish it in the next month. So I'll check that off because technically we did it in the month of May. I didn't say how many times. It couldn't just happen. We did not get to that. I keep putting that on my list because I want to jump back into that book, which really focuses on biblical science, like science that is not in opposition to what the Bible says about creation. It is a really interesting book, but it's dense. And so, I don't know, you have to be in like the right mind frame to read it. So we'll get back to that eventually. Knowledge crates, we did, so I can check that off. We didn't do as much as I had planned, again, because we were outside so much. But what I will tell you is that we do plan to use some of the things from the spring crate in the summer, and I'm going to share with you in my summer plans video how I'm going to do that. So that's what I love. Like if I don't use all the stuff, it's not wasted. I just save it for a different time. So, and then math picture books. We did do a handful of math picture books, which was a goal for me, something new that I was trying out with my 3rd grader, which I said my 3rd grader, she's not a 3rd grader yet, but she will be next year. I have all of her like curriculum on my mind thinking about 3rd grade, but that was a goal that I had for her, was to kind of find more unschooly ways, I guess, to do math with her other than like our typical, because we use math in everyday life, right? Like telling time, baking, measuring things, counting things, all of that. And so math picture books were something that I wanted to add in for her. And so we did do that. So I will check that off. I guess the funny thing is maybe I wasn't like super over ambitious, or maybe because I touched on all these things lately, I get to check a lot of them off. But anyways, that was the May wish list. And I did write my top 3 things were connection, connection, and connection. Stay at peace. Don't get frustrated with interruptions. Debatable how I did on that. And to flow with the seasons. We definitely flowed with the seasons. We definitely focused on connection. I definitely had some days where I did okay with not getting frustrated with interruptions. And then other days where I did get frustrated. Like I am in a season where I have a 3 and a 4-year-old who are very active and they play off each other's energy. And sometimes they can make it kind of difficult to have our lesson time or even just our morning time. And yeah, so we'll continue working on that, and also just taking into account like what are their actual, you know, what should their expectations be at that age? As far as independent work, guys, we were super lax in the month of May. Because we are, to a certain extent, year-round homeschoolers, I don't stress about like making sure we're staying really strict so we can be done with anything. I've shared this in the past. So we were very loose with our independent work during this month. I gave them lots of time to explore their own interests, to play, to do projects, to research things they were interested in, to read books, and to go on adventures. So they did math and they did language arts independently, which was really the only, pretty much, other than notebooking, because we do lots of notebooking, which I didn't really mention. Other than notebooking, that's really the only independent work that I required of them during May, and I didn't really have a ton of requirements on them. So I'll talk in my summer homeschool plans video about how I plan to approach those things in summer as well. So I think, I'm just looking through, but I think that's kind of everything. I think that sums up May pretty well. It looks like we did some of the Burgess unit. We did some of my Burgess Birds unit. If you're not familiar with that, it's a notebooking unit. So we did do some of that. Oh, we started doing timelines in our notebooks. That's something that's fairly new. I don't think I have any of the notebooks out here, but I took the last few pages of their notebooks. So like the very last page is the 2000s. So year 2000 to 2023, because that's where we are right now. The page before that is the 21st century, the page before that, the 20th, and so on. And we'll just keep going backwards if we, you know, as we come upon things. I thought this would be really cool to do because of our plans for history next school year. Because as we go further back, we can kind of start to see like what was happening at similar times in history and different things that we're learning. And so that's kind of been a cool addition that I've really liked so far, and that I definitely think will continue to do moving forward. It's just like a simple way to kind of see how things are connecting in a different way, because we love to see how things connect and we make connections all the time, but this is like in a little bit of a different way. And so that's something new that we did in May that I almost forgot about. So I'm glad, because I always forget something later after I film the video. I'm like, oh, I forgot to talk about that. So I think that's it, you guys. I think that covers it for the month of May. I didn't talk a ton about our school year as a whole, but you've kind of seen the progression at this point if you've been following me. Just kind of, we do things loosely, right? Like we are not finishing, no one is finishing their math curriculum, their language arts, like none of their independent work are they like finishing up a curriculum and we're like done with the school year. Like that's just not our flow and our vibe. I know some people thrive with that. We do not. No one here cares. Everyone is learning. That's what I care about. So if that encourages you, maybe you're like me, or maybe you just need a little bit of encouragement in that area. So yeah, let me know if you had a similar May, if you've done any similar things. If you have any questions for me, any video requests, definitely throw them down in the comments below. If you're new here, introduce yourself, because I love to connect with you guys. If I ever miss comments, like please have grace, because I never do it on purpose and sometimes I get overwhelmed keeping up on things while also prioritizing my #1 priority, which is being a mom and paying attention to my babies and not being on my phone all the time. So yeah, make sure you don't miss June 1st's video all about summer homeschool plans. Don't miss the June 1st launch of Made to Homeschool. As long as I remember, all of the things that I mentioned in today's video will be linked down below in the description box. And if you're looking for something and it's not there, let me know. I hope to see you soon in one of my next videos. And until next time, stay rooted.